morning, everyone. We're here with the Assistant Director of Campus Ministry, Stephine Sallinis.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you for asking. Okay, so my topic is forced child labor, and I want to interview her today on a couple questions on how she feels about it. First question would be, what is child labor to you?
Child labor is any type of work that a child is performing, and the child would be someone under the age of 18, and performing that labor, so it could be making clothing or items that would be then used for sale, and it is not paying them a fair wage, and just because of the age of the children, so like I said, anyone under the age of 18, there are certain laws in place that state that children under the age of 18 cannot work more than a certain amount of hours, and they must be within certain conditions. And the conditions would also be for people that are adults as well. So forced child labor happens when the kids are working in conditions that are not healthy for them, not safe for them, and definitely the amount of hours might be way more than that should be allotted.
That's a great answer. All right. Another question would be, how are you affected by it?
I think that I'd be affected by it. I'm mostly just in the type of clothing that I might purchase, or just in the research of that clothing. So for instance, when I go into a store, sometimes I'm aware, sometimes I'm not aware, depending on my mindset that day. If I'm going to a store buying something for convenience sake, so running into a store real quick, I might not be thinking about where this item was made or who, the conditions that the person made it in. I might just be selfishly thinking, well, I need that shirt, or I need a new jacket, or item for my kitchen, whatever it is. So I think that I'm affected by it by a few ways. One, whether or not I'm doing my research as a consumer and figuring out what goes into the items that I'm buying and who, the ethics of the company, the labor standards, and then also affected by it when I do that research, then I'm picking and choosing purchases based on whether or not they were made by someone in a sweatshop or made by someone that's paid a fair wage in working in a condition that is feasible.
Okay, great. And lastly, I would say, how do you think forced child labor has affected the world today?
Well, I think that from an economic standpoint, it allows stores, companies, to make a lot of money, to make a lot of profit. If they're having kids make clothing, I'll just use that example, and they might have like hundreds of children making this clothing for retail purposes, and they're not paying them a fair wage. Like I mentioned, they're in poor working conditions. But the company is still making a lot of money off of that. So if the child's getting paid $1 a day, and they might make 3 or 4 shirts, however the system is in place, the company then goes and sells those same shirts that they made $1 for $20 each. That's just an example. So I think that it's affecting the world by the companies making a lot off of these children, and then it's also affecting the world because then the kids aren't given a fair chance to receive an education, depending on what country they're from, if they're working instead of going to school, and so it's not fair to them no matter what, and it's a situation that is very negative for the children and their families. And also, I think that it affects the world because, there's definitely like environmental concerns usually with the way the sweatshop might be set up. So like other factors aside from the actual youth working and the companies making money, but typically there's other ethical issues in place as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. We're talking about forced child labor.
Thank you.
All right, that's the end of my video. Thank you for watching.